Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. I invite you to join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Kolpak.
Here.
Pepcorn.
Here.
Strand.
Here.
Turnberg.
Here.
Mahoney.
Here. Good evening. Tonight, we're going to take a moment to honor a leader who has made a lasting impact on the safety and strength of our city, Fargo Fire Chief Steve Dirksen. Under Chief Dirksen's leadership, the Fargo Fire Department has grown stronger, more efficient, and better equipped to serve our residents. From leading the development and opening of Fire Station 8 to being a champion for improvements at Red River Regional Dispatch Center, he has always looked ahead, ensuring our emergency response is fast, coordinated, and resilient. His leadership also guided the department to a Class 1 ISO rating, the highest possible fire protection designation. This mark of excellence not only reflects in the top-tier department, but also delivers real savings to the Fargo homeowners through reduced insurance costs. Chief Dirksen's legacy is one of service, innovation, and unwavering commitment to public safety. To honor his impact on our community, we'd like to begin tonight's meeting with a short video highlighting this career of the leader who has truly made a difference, Chief Steve Dirksen.
My career started in a volunteer fire department in 1989 in Rock Valley, Iowa, where I grew up. And then I saw an advertisement for the firefighter position in the city of Sioux Falls. I took a test. There was about 700 folks that sat down for the initial test, and I was fortunate enough to be one of the 10 people out of that group that got hired for a career in the fire service. While I was there, the fire chief was in place. He was going to be there for a while. There was a whole group of us that were about the same age. I made a decision to kind of explore things and see where we were at, and the job in Fargo opened up. Put an application in, and the city of Fargo welcomed me in for a interview, and I was selected as the fire chief in 2011. The great thing about the fire services over the years, we've continued to use technology to develop and make the profession safer. So we've gone to the improvements in turnout gear. I believe there's probably been about 5 or 6 iterations of improvements in the standard of turnout gear over the 36 years that I've been in the fire service. We've also improved what the health and wellness of firefighters, and making sure that we have policies in place to make sure that firefighters do things and operate in a safe manner. The trucks that are out there today are changing all the time. I started on a gas-driven truck and moved on to diesel trucks, and now with the emissions. And then just overall in the building classifications and the code enforcement within the fire service, making sure that we build buildings as safe as possible, first of all for the occupants and then for the firefighters that would have to operate in them. Adding the Fire Station 8 this last year was a big accomplishment within the city. That was one of the questions that was always asked of me when I got here, is when is Station 8 going to happen? We are a large city that really comprises multiple cities in the region here. And we've all made the decision that, we can work better together if we train together and do things like that, knowing that not all of us are going to have all of the resources to handle every situation. So I worked really hard over the last number of years with the different fire chiefs in the region to ensure that we have a strong relationship for mutual aid, automatic aid, and then also developing the Joint Fire Training Academy with West Fargo initially, and then adding Moorhead here last year. It's been great within the city of Fargo. I was welcomed early on by all city departments. We worked together. We tried to figure out how we could operate, try to make sure that we all receive the needs that we have. I think of working with Ben Dow as we purchase our trucks, and I would think about working with HR as we added people, working closely with the police department. I never thought over the last 36 years that we would be buying ballistic gear for our firefighters, and now we have that on our trucks. To protect them just because of the change in the landscape, but just making sure that we can operate safely and protect the citizens as best as possible. I'm very, very proud of the part of the spot where I'm leaving the department. We have great leadership internally. They're great people. There's nothing I had to do with that other than I helped to educate them, provide them opportunities to learn and to grow. I'm looking forward to watching the fire department continue to advance, providing for the safety of the community as they move forward. You know, I feel great that I'm at a good spot to hand off the department to the next round of leadership. Over the last 36 years, I can't say thanks enough to my family. They've supported me in all things, even when I said to my wife 14 years ago, let's look at this thing in Fargo, and she said, really? And I said, yeah, let's take a look at it and see where it might go. And she was very willing and supportive. We were at a good spot with our family to take that opportunity. And my kids, they've been around, they've had a lot of great opportunities, and they were supportive, and my grandkids as well. And my brothers and sisters and my parents have just been phenomenal in developing who I am, and I thank them all for their support over the last 36 years. I just want to say thanks to the city of Fargo, not just the city as the governmental entity, but all the citizens. I came here 13 and a half years ago, not being known by anybody in the community really. The community embraced me, they invited me in, and they were willing to accept the decisions and the leadership that I was providing. I had a lot of great support from the community. People have reached out, and I can't say thank you enough to the city of Fargo for the opportunity to come and live and be part of the community, and I really appreciate this opportunity.
Commissioner Kolpak?
Yes, that's you at Sandy's out the window. That's one of the best photos I think we've ever taken. Yeah, right. So tonight we recognize and thank Fire Chief Steve Dirksen for his extraordinary leadership, unwavering integrity, and 36 years of dedication to the fire service. Chief Dirksen, over the past 3 years, I've had the distinct privilege of working closely with you in my role as Fire Department Liaison. I've seen firsthand how deeply you live out the core values of the Fargo Fire Department, captured by the acronym PRIDE: professionalism, responsibility, integrity, dependability, and empathy. You have brought professionalism to every challenge, calm under pressure, guided by data and reason, and always focused on solutions. You led with responsibility, never forgetting that public safety is a sacred trust. You modeled integrity in every decision, earning the deep respect of this commission and the broader community. You were dependable, showing up early, staying late, and standing by your team and your mission. And perhaps most importantly, you've always led with empathy, always asking how people were doing, listening, and always seeing the person behind the badge. Your leadership helped elevate the Fargo Fire Department to a standard of excellence that will outlast your tenure. You supported your team, advanced innovation, and maintained a clear focus on protecting lives and strengthening our community. Thank you for leading with integrity, compassion, and heart. Your 36 years of service have left a lasting mark not only on your department, but on our entire community. As you move into this next chapter, filled with well-deserved time with your family and grandchildren, including Bo, we wish you all the best. You leave behind a legacy of service and a city that is better because of you. Congratulations, and on behalf of a grateful community, we wish you all the best. And now we'll ask Chief Dirksen to come up, and all 5 commissioners will go down and take a photo with you.
We also have a cap for you, because every time you go somewhere, the firefighter will buy you a beer. If it's Fargo, they might give you the boot or something. Thank you, everybody. Is there a motion to approve the order of the agenda, withdrawing item 31 on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the April 28th meeting, 2025?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 32, excluding item 31, which has been withdrawn?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn, Kolpak,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Turnberg,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. So, we're going to have a presentation of the draft of non-exclusive right-of-way occupation agreement, Ubiquity North Dakota LLC. Kevin Gorder to explain.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I know Tom's going to get up here and talk about infrastructure on our city side, but this is a different type of infrastructure we're going to talk about for a little bit here. I'm going to introduce a project that's been worked on for the last, say, 6 to 12 months in engineering, and we're finally to the point of an agreement. But before we start, I just want to tell the Commission, we're not really looking for action tonight from you guys. We really want to inform you, let you know what's going on, let you ask any questions you might have, and then we'll take input for the next couple of weeks, and then we're going to request approval at the regular meeting on the 27th. So just kind of step back from having to make a decision tonight, unless you want to. We'll just kind of slow that process down a little bit for you. So what is proposed? So we've been working with 2 different companies to use city right-of-way to install a complete fiber network in the city of Fargo. So it'll touch every parcel with a few exceptions in our community. There's 2 companies here, and the representatives are here today, and they can make the pitch for their business plan. But Gateway Fiber is a more traditional internet service provider. Ubiquity can do that, but they have an open access fiber that they're going to put in. They can do different things with their fiber with the way their business model is going. And I will share that this is a national trend. This is not new to Fargo. This is happening all over. Omaha is on their 3rd fiber company. I believe the city of Plymouth, Minnesota is on their 5th fiber company. Across the nation, I go to conferences. It's a topic at conversations about how do cities manage these things. So the next question is, what can or can't the city do? And Nancy, I'll look to you. If I misspeak, you can correct me from the legal side of things. But I think some of you were here for the Midco build about 10 years ago. That was a very large project. It touched everybody. So this is very similar, but we're going to do 2 at a time. So based on our understanding of the FCC rules and various laws, and we've talked to, we have a council in Washington, D.C. that we bring some of these things to kind of run it past them. We don't have an option to say no based on the rulings that are out there. If you heard that before, small cells will tell you that the same thing. You can't say no to a small cell. So a franchise agreement, the Midcos, the Sparklights, they have franchise agreements, but they're not a cable company. So a franchise agreement really isn't the right fit. Our current ordinance states $1 a foot in the right-of-way. There's about, if they were to go to every street, it'd be about 3.1 million feet. But the FCC and others would probably consider that a barrier to entry in our community. So it probably would not be able to do something like that, be upheld. What current rules do allow the city is to recover costs associated working around or with each utility company in our right-of-way. That's what we're limited to, the approximate cost. So we have, I'm gonna just talk about impacts first. We'll get to the money side in a little bit. So impacts that we can expect from these projects. Sidewalk closures, some traffic impacts with equipment and other things, lawn impacts, and parking impacts come to mind right away. And what I wanted to show you with these pictures, there's a lot happening on this slide. I apologize for it, but I wanted to try to be able to talk to it. So if you see this parcel here, and I don't know if I can point to it, but if you see the parcel line right here, the green line is the property line behind the sidewalk. In most of our city, 10 feet back is the public utility easement. They can be in that easement to install it. So now we're not going just back a sidewalk, we're going all 10 feet into a lot of people's yards to install this stuff. And I've got some pictures coming up that can kind of show you what it might look like as we're doing it. And then this is basically the same picture without the aerial, so you can maybe see it a little bit better. The picture in the upper right-hand corner is a typical machine that they're going to use to bore this stuff in, so they're not going to rip everything up. They're going to set someplace, and then they're going to push this rod through and pull fiber back, pull conduit back. So it's going to be, not completely without digging, but it's going to be a lot of it will happen without digging. So that's a lot of the impacts that we see. But then we get into the actual installation, spotting of existing utilities. If they have to cross a utility, they'll suck out the dirt to get down to it with vac trucks, leave these holes like you see in the upper right-hand picture. And sometimes that could be from curb to sidewalk, or it could be from sidewalk back 10 feet. If there's a lot of stuff already in there, they got to find them all. So they could be doing a lot of this digging in our boulevards along with their bore pits and connection points at every parcel. So there's a lot going to happen in these two projects. They could be taking out driveways to spot things under a driveway, take alleys out if they're in alleys to do this work, street removals as they cross our sewers when they come across a street crossing. So there's going to be a lot of impacts to our residents. And I will say, what we will follow is all removed areas must be restored to meet Fargo's excavation code. We've spent a lot of time in the last 3-ish years on our excavation code to really dress things up. We have weekly fees on our permits, so if they don't get things done, it's another week of charge to have that encouraging by money that they will get their work done. So just wanted to show you all this stuff. The lower right-hand picture there, that is in our older neighborhoods. There are no PUEs, public utility easements, but there's alleys. But now everything has to be in the street right away instead of being in that public utility easement. So there's some trade-offs with all of that. So that's a lot. Any questions on that, or should I just keep going?
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about we're going to have engineering staff helping them with that. Can you talk about how we will be compensated? And obviously, you want to make sure that we're adequately staffed so we don't hold them up too. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I sure can. Nice segue. Thank you. Budget and financial considerations, both companies, so I'll step back. Engineering has estimated the cost of working around them in a year is about $350,000 a year. And we just took what we think it costs on a rehab project in a core neighborhood to cross all these fibers, to work around them. An emergency water repair, when you have to dig an emergency water repair and you have to go down there with a vac truck instead of a backhoe, and your costs start to double, triple, quadruple because of the method of repair. So we try to track a few of those repairs and kind of turn that into an estimated amount that it costs us annually. So that's where we're at, about $350,000. So the difference between the two companies right now, Gateway is asked to prorate the fee. So as they expand in our community and we have more touches to them, we get more money for working around them. Ubiquity is at $350,000. The draft agreement in the packet basically says they'll start at $350,000 right from the very beginning. Now there is a couple things that are not on the screen. There's a greater than amount. If they are really successful, it's 5% of gross revenues. As they move more stuff on those fibers, there's more risk to hit it. There's more cost when it gets hit, things like that. So there's a 5% gross, a 5% surcharge on their gross revenue if it exceeds $350,000. There's an escalator in the contract, so as inflation, that 350 grows either at the time of renewal in 10 years or annually, depending on how you read the agreements, the way they're written right now. I will share that with the proration, if it's a 5-year build out or a 3-year build out, PUPEC did have some concerns with a long prorated period. They like to shorten it to say 3 years. That was kind of the discussion, and that's obviously something you guys can consider as you move forward. So that's a little bit on the money side. Now to Commissioner Pepcorn's points, the concerns we have in engineering are enormous. I just shared here on this slide, we are going to have to keep up with not only the work, but locating everything to protect everything we already have in the ground. All the private companies are going to have to protect their items as well. So what does engineering locate? Sanitary, storm, streetlights, traffic signals, loop detectors, city fiber, various public-private lines. Think of the line from the landfill out to Cargill. We locate that to protect it. So we have some of those things that we're locating. Public Works is responsible for locating all of the water mains. So now we're going to have all these crews in town. We got to protect our stuff. Need more staff, more time, more effort to do all that stuff. But in addition, we're doing the permitting, processing the permits. We're going to do a walkthrough in some of the areas to evaluate route options where it's congested. If you can imagine, our right-of-way is full of stuff. you want to, you just look at flags in some of the older areas of town when they're doing some work, and you have all these flags. Every flag represents something that's already underground. So we'll be walking with these guys to find the best route. We'll determine that route, and then we're going to ensure that they're putting it in the right spot, so we're not in the way of other things. And then the spotting, like you saw with the picture. And then at the end, we're going to track and ensure all restoration is complete. So there's going to be a lot of engineering time in this whole process. And we do this for all of them. This isn't just, it isn't just these companies that we're doing it with. And just a little bit of information on the group that does it right now. We have 4 locators, and they also help manage the right-of-way. We have a supervisor that helps us. And they're busy. I mean, they're working 8, 9-hour days right now, which is just the normal activities without these 2 companies coming to town. But so staffing concerns. We feel we might need 4 to 6 more people to keep up with all the related city items, the permitting, the locating, tracking down the restoration. So we've thought contract employees, consultants could be used to manage the increased staffing. Both companies have agreed to reimburse the cost of the additional staff time and or overtime, or if we hire a consultant. A lot of the conversation we've had is, we copied West Fargo. They're paying for the locates that are needed for this project, but anything else they're getting reimbursed for. West Fargo's contracts, I think, is at $100 an hour that they're getting reimbursed at that rate for the work that they're doing. That's what the West Fargo agreement is. I don't know if that's finalized yet or not. I looked through some of their commission minutes or council minutes. I couldn't find anything, but that's kind of where they were going with their agreement. Like I said, both companies are agreed to do that. It's just a matter of getting all the costs that we want to track. If you guys have comments on locating or permitting or things like that, as we move this forward. So it's a lot there. You guys can certainly ask questions now, or we can wait. Ubiquity is here. They're one of the companies that are looking to come in our right away. Sunny Nunez is with us.
Mr. Kolpak has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, can you speak to who is responsible for bringing the public along from a communication perspective about the work, about what to expect, about progress, about their right?
Yeah, that's another item. I mean, I would think we look to our communication folks, but we're going to put a lot of it on the companies to door hangers and stuff like that. So yeah, any thoughts on that would be very helpful if there's more we want to do.
Commissioner Pipcorn.
So I have a question about, so we have existing companies that are paying the city fees.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I'm concerned that the market is level. And so that, can you talk a little bit about that, how these new companies will be paying, so it's at least similar to the existing companies?
Yeah, so I did pull some data from 2023. I apologize for not getting 2024 numbers. I thought I had them, but I didn't have them the complete year. So in 23, Cable One, Sparklight, is in that $340,000 annually on their franchise fees on cable TV. So it's similar but different, right? And then Midco is somewhere around $620,000 annually. Now Lumen, they don't do a lot of cable TV anymore. They're at $17,000 annually that they're paying to use our right-of-way, or for us to work around them. I always use that old terminology.
So thank you, but I think that's something for us to consider, to make sure that the playing field is level.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, no one should get an advantage, but I do think that's an issue just for us to keep it. And I do think when you were talking about the staffing, obviously we're doing budgets right now, and the budgets are very tight. And so to me, this gives us reassurance to know that they're willing to reimburse. The other thing, the benefit is that if the companies, if they have dedicated engineering staff, then they're not going to be held up.
Yeah.
Whereas if we were just having to fit them into all your other duties, it would not be that case, and they'd be slowed up, and the work would be slower for them. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, completely agree with that. I mean, if in my mind, if these guys come to town with 5 crews each, I mean, I think it'll take us 3 weeks to get through permitting. I mean, it's just, right now we can kind of do them in a couple days, but the walkthroughs are going to take so much time if you have 10 additional crews in town. We're used to having, say, 5 to 7, maybe 10 at a peak in our normal operations, but they're not always here. They'll work here for a while and go to Morehead and come back. So when you start dedicating those crews from frost out to freeze up, that's a long duration where it's every day you have to keep up. And these guys, they have the resources to bring in some big crews, because the faster they build it out, the faster they get customers, the faster it works for them. So there is some vested interest, and if we're holding up the crews, then these crews are standing here and they're on standby, and I'm not so sure that's a very good idea for them as far as a business model, as far, keeping their crews moving and getting in and out of neighborhoods much quicker.
Very good. Representative from Ubiquity.
Sonny, you want?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. My name is Sonny Nunez. I work for Ubiquity, located at 4200 West 115th Street in Leawood, Kansas. Thank you for the time tonight. It's been definitely a very adventurous time working with Kevin and understanding a little bit more about the city, the concerns and the things that that really come to mind with the commissioners as they look forward to putting in a project this size in the city. We have a small presentation to show, a little bit to address some of the community engagement piece of it, a little bit to address sort of our business model. As Kevin mentioned, Ubiquity is an open access fiber provider. What that really means is that we build infrastructure that is not necessarily used for our own exclusive rights. We allow other internet service providers to also join the network. And so the ideal is that it's really a common network that really opens up and fosters competition for the consumer. It's Fargo was very unique in its characteristics of the existing communications, and so it was most certainly found in our research that a fiber network in the city would be a great benefit to the city, both to the constituents and the city itself, in sort of how these fiber networks impact the city. So Kevin laid out some of the impacts that the constituents will be dealing with. I'll lay out a couple of the impacts that I think the city will mostly benefit from, particularly bringing in fiber optic networks. They generally have been found to bolster and increase economic developments within cities. So we're really excited about that. We've experienced that and seen that in some of the other markets that we're currently building. And just to give a quick visual of it, we put in the fiber, we build it up with capacity so that we're really laying the groundwork for a smart city. Because one of the things that is very inherent, that it's impossible to have a smart city without having a robust fiber network to tie all of the various things that the city and the consumer and industry and everything else is looking to put together. So really the open access is what we found to be a good model that really delivers to close the digital divide, to provide digital equity amongst communities, and most importantly, to bolster their ability to connectivity. And with connectivity comes, all the greater things that one can do. It increases quality of life, access to education, and other things. So we're really excited about that, and really excited to work with the community on that. Our infrastructure, we have currently roughly $500 million invested across the country. We have about 250,000 addresses that we currently pass, and the nature of these investments are they're very long term. They're not a simple 3 or 5 year turnaround on ROI. It really requires about a 20-year investment and commitment to build one of these networks and make it operatable and potentially and eventually profitable. We do have a very robust communication with the communities. And so when we come in to our areas, what we'll do is we'll establish a line of communication that may be through a social media webpage to help inform the constituents. And we go out and do noticing and door tags to really engage the community, to make sure that they understand what's coming, what's ahead, the scope of work, what the impacts will be to them, and then subsequently their path of escalation in the event they have issues. We always like for them to start with the city, but we understand that the city is not geared to deal with every single little issue from the constituents. So Ubiquity is highly engaged in resolving any issues that may pop up in the build-out process. As Kevin mentioned, there's locates. There's a lot of things that will have to happen. So unfortunately, we will not go unnoticed as we put in these networks. It is a big endeavor, and to Kevin's point, the volume of it, I think, will certainly raised some awareness amongst the community that is happening. So it's important that we make sure that we have a very good line of communication open, a good resolution, a path of resolution for constituents that may have issues and or for the city as well. So Kevin, we've supplied them with sort of our escalation sheet of how they would go about contacting our folks and then subsequently escalating anything that may need to be escalated beyond the normal working relationships. We do provide door hangers. So one of the things that we make sure that we go and do before we start work, usually 72 hours before, but also in some instances up to 2 weeks prior to doing work. That includes no parking, that includes door tags. We also use yard signs that would indicate where the physical plant is going to be placed. And on the next picture here, you'll see, or was that the last picture? At any rate, we do yard signs. They're basically little small yard signs that have stakes in them, and it would basically locate and identify that area in which is going to be impacted. To Kevin's point, if it's in that public utility easement, that's a fine line to balance, because a lot of people think that that's their private property, and so sometimes we'll have to go through an education effort, and that's nothing new to us. I mean, I think we'd be glad to sort of carry on some of the successes that we've had in other markets and bring them to Fargo as well. I'll stop for a minute if anybody has any questions.
Mr. Chair, so can I ask you, so what we talked about, we're having our engineering department dedicate some staff to help you speed the process. Is that something that you've done in other places, and is that acceptable to you?
So we refer to it as sort of a high volume deployment. So as Kevin mentioned earlier, that there is a standard sort of capacity that the city has, and that capacity is funded through permits and other things. And so what a project like this does is it strains those existing resources. So we do have what we would call high volume deployment. That is, we would reimburse for any additional fees that are associated with either expediting and or resolving any sort of permitting issues. So we're not adverse to that. And it is something that we do in other markets, both current and prospective markets.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. No, is it the Gateway that will present next?
Yes, to be equitable, we'll have them at the same commission meeting, so we
Yep.
get it all done at once. So Derek Leffert, I hope I'm saying names right, and John Meyer are here with Gateway Fiber, and they can talk about their business plans.
All right, thank you very much for having us, Mayor and members of the commission. My name is John Meyer. I am the Chief Customer Officer at Gateway Fiber, and this is my colleague.
Derek Leffert, Head of Government Affairs for Gateway Fiber.
We don't have a presentation today because we'd rather just keep it a little bit more conversational today. There's a lot of similarities between our two organizations, and we've gone back and forth with Kevin over the past few months. And I think just from a starting point, it would be helpful to tell you a little bit more about who Gateway Fiber is and why we find Fargo an attractive market. So, a few things. We're really excited about partnering with the city. And, Gateway Fiber was founded about 6 years ago in the suburbs of St. Louis, Missouri. Since then, we've built a network in the northern suburbs of Minneapolis, which covers Blaine, Coon Rapids, Plymouth, Maple Grove. We're starting construction in Shoreview in a couple weeks, Cottage Grove as well. So this region is very familiar to us. And, a fiber optic network has the opportunity to, yes, there is a disruption. It is a disruptive process. However, through our experience working with cities, going through this exact same process, speaking to residents, helping educate them and bringing them along, excuse me, is really the biggest challenge to solve. And if you can do that right, it really is, it's setting the table to say, hey, here's what you're going to see. Here's the net benefit on the other side. And if you can bear with us and we can do right by you as the customer along the way as we build past your house, we have the opportunity, Gateway, as the owner of that network and the provider of the service, to make sure that that customer experience from day one is totally, it sets the bar, right? So if we can do that right, we have a good foot in the door with a potential customer, and we still have to win them over from some, an incumbent that they already have. So that's really like a key differentiator for us, is that we are the owner and the operator of the network. When somebody receives their bill every single month, it will come from Gateway Fiber. So there's a lot of accountability that built into that. If there's a challenge with the city, or a challenge with a resident, or a challenge with construction, we're the team, right? Like, and a given resident, they have the opportunity to call us, and our local customer service reps pick up the phone. We have, all local representatives. And from a construction issue resolution perspective, we've got a website where people can tag a photo and plop in the address, and we have quality of service, standards that enable us to take care of those issues, because there's going to be the seed and straw that didn't take, and the cracked sidewalk that we need to replace. So we take on all those costs as well. A couple things just about our product and our service, and then I'm going to turn it over to Derek. But we're going up against the biggest brands in the country, right? So Xfinity and Charter are our two biggest competitors. So what do we do differently than them? The way that we position ourselves is that we are offering a fairer, friendlier, and faster internet experience. Fairer means there's no promotional rates. Everything's included in the price. There's no contracts, there's no fees, there's no installation fees, there's no any of the pain points that you would become familiar with if you were stuck in a relationship with a legacy incumbent. So we've solved a lot of those issues. On the friendlier side, like I said before, all of our customer service reps are local. We pick up the phone. We have a net promoter score of 70, which in this landscape specifically, most of the legacy internet service providers hover in the 1 to 2 to 3 range. So we're 70 points higher than the national average. And our Google reviews speak for themselves. So if you guys have any questions on what the just general public says, we have a 4.7 Google rating. And faster, fiber internet allows us to have a future-proof network for your residents as well. So this is an asset that can grow with the capacity needs and the consumption needs of the future. So with that said, and I guess I'll also mention, as you guys get familiar with Gateway Fiber, all of our, we'll leave some brochures and some handouts on just like some of the customer communication pieces that we have. But all of our pricing is transparent, so you don't have to enter in an address to find out the price of what you're trying to order. So you can check us out online at gatewayfiber.com.
Yeah, and I just want to touch really kind of on the community piece. So Gateway, in and of itself, we place a huge emphasis, and I think if you talk to any community that we've worked in, I think that you'll find that we've worked in collaboration and close partnership with the communities that we're in, whether that's providing regular updates to city staff or council. I would be coming out on a regular basis to have conversations with the commission in case you had any concerns or questions. We're here, we're in the community, we're investing not only in our infrastructure, but we're also investing in the local economy. We're sponsoring sports teams, we're doing all the things that you would expect a good community partner to do. So that's very, very important to us. We do that in every single market that we go in. We offer some free Wi-Fi at city parks and things like that to help kind of with the residents and really kind of really embed ourselves in the community, because that's a key component. It's in our DNA. It's who we are. I also want to talk about kind of the process that we use during the installation. As John mentioned, obviously the process is very disruptive. It could be very disruptive. there's always some concern about utilities being struck. So I will tell you that Gateway Fiber pioneered. We were the first of the industry or any of the utilities as far as that's concerned to pioneer a damage prevention process. That is a very, very detailed process that has helped cut our damages extensively. And so what we do, and no other provider does this, we send people out, our contractors call on locates. We use a third-party auditor essentially that goes out, they check the locates, they check all the marks, they GPS every single one of those marks, they map them out on a system, they identify any issues that could be identified, like an incorrect locate or missing marks, things like that. Also, during the construction process, they're there with the crews as the crews are actually doing their work, and they're monitoring best practices, making sure that they're not doing things they're not supposed to do, anything that's not consistent with regulations and the law. They also, when the facility is actually potholed, so you'll see potholes throughout the fiber installation process. It's not the open trench stuff like kind of what Kevin referred to earlier. It's the directional drill that he was showing where they go out and they pothole to spot the utilities that they're going to be crossing. When we do that, our third-party auditor also goes out. They take pictures and photographs of that. They do a GPS reading both horizontally and vertically so that we can make sure that we know where all those facilities are at. And then they monitor them throughout the construction process to make sure that they're working safely and minimizing the risk of damaging utilities. So that's one thing we do. It's a very expensive thing to do, but it's something that we believe is the right thing to do, not only for the residents and the businesses, but also, I think to John's point earlier about the various different things we do, I think it kind of speaks to who we are. As far as collaboration with the community, we do understand that that you guys do have limited resources, and so that's why we have agreed to. Ordinarily, what we do is we go into a community and we partner with the community. And we say, what can you do in terms of your resources? We don't want to overburden you. We want to work collaboratively with you to make sure that we're doing it in a way that's good for all of us. But I did want to clarify a point from earlier. It was mentioned that we were going to do a phase-in. We've spoken internally, and I believe it's in the final agreement that we're matching the 350 without a phase-in. So that's different than what was originally. So we would basically be doing the same thing as what Ubiquity would be doing. As far as John mentioned it earlier, but I think if you really talk to the communities that we have partnered with and the residents and look at the reviews, I think you're going to see a group that you want to partner with, a company that you want to partner with. From our installers to our construction crews and everything in between, we are doing everything that we can. Every home that we go past is a potential customer for us. And so we want to make sure that we're doing right by those residents and by the community. So with that, we would be happy to take any questions. And actually, John.
Two just real quick points. Excuse me, I got a frog. Derek's point on the damage prevention process is ultimately just we have a high standard of safety, right? We want to make sure that whatever we're putting in, we're doing it extremely safely, and that there's, that we're minimizing any sort of, damage, and that damage could be, minor and especially major damage. So my other point is, this is not just a lobby. John and Derek sitting up here. I have an invested interest in the city of Fargo. My parents went to high school here. My grandparents lived on Elm Street. So this is a little bit of a special place to me. So I think we would treat it that way. Thank you very much for allowing us to come in and.
Thank you.
Sure.
Gord, you got anything else?
I'll just wrap up with a couple quick things. I know we talked about communication strategies. Engineering does have a GIS site that we use to communicate punch list items to contractors. I'm hoping to leverage that as part of the try to track down and track those issues that we might have in the field. Inbox for an email box, maybe a voicemail box where we can get a bunch of people watching that so we can make sure we can get back to people in a very timely manner. So, went on for a long time. This is kind of a reminder of the approval process. And if you have anything else for me or the group, let me know. Otherwise, we'll be back in a couple weeks.
Commissioner Strand.
I'm the king of dumb questions. Is this something we've asked for? Are these proposals, or are they just coming to us? And at some point, do we ask others in the world to provide their proposals? I'm kind of at a loss how this came to us and why.
So,
Sorry, but
no, I'm sorry. To your point, Commissioner, it's part of the broadband deployment across the nation, bringing, that fast internet service, that ability to work from home or download data very quickly. It's just an initiative across the nation. The FCC seems to have a priority on it because they limit what we can do from a municipal side of things. So I think it's just a matter of the marketplace is working, and here we have some companies coming to us, and our community is big enough where we can do this. And I'm going to guess there'll be more.
and how does this impact the existing providers of service that are already here? I remember discussing putting on light poles, putting these. This has surfaced different times, different ways, but I'm still kind of glazing over about why we're doing this, or who's leading it, or where the end will be.
Yeah, and I can say I'm not aware of a company in town that has a full fiber build out in our community. I don't think we have one. I could be wrong, but I don't think we do.
So is this something we are asking
No.
for?
No.
Or should we?
Duluth is doing one on their own, paying for it.
I was just going to add to Commissioner Strand's question. No, this is not something we asked for. These companies approached the city about rolling out a full fiber build out in the city. And so like Kevin talked about, there are certain things we can do and certain things we cannot do. And so what we've been working for a number of months with both these groups is coming to an agreement. We initially had conversations at PUPEC, getting guidance on what we should be looking to include in those agreements. We came to the finish line with both these groups really quickly here in the last month or so, I'd say. And so we discussed this again last week at PUPEC. The recommendation was to bring it to City Commission to make you aware of it. Again, we came to the end really, really quickly. So I want to make you aware of it, give you an opportunity to ask questions, give us an opportunity to be sure you get those answers to your questions, and then ultimately here in 2 weeks, seek approval for the agreements though.
Mr. Kolpak.
Yeah, just a clarifying question. So you said several months. When did this actually, when did conversations begin? Just for my own knowledge.
Ubiquity was the first one, and that was it June last year? Yeah, and so we talked to them, and then they'd do some planning, and then they'd come back and ask us a couple questions, and then we do some planning. They'd go back and do some planning, and then we started kind of putting together an internal agreement, and that just all came together here probably in the last 6 weeks, 30 days. Yeah, there was a lot of conversations, and to Commissioner Strand's point, I think that conversation was why Fargo, why, is what learning the lay of the land as they talk to us more than just trying to figure out how to get in the right of way.
Mr. Turnberg.
So is there any cost to residents for this, or is it only if they choose to use one of these companies as their provider?
Correct. It would be if they choose to use them.
And then does it also include, is it both wireless and cable options? Like, does this include wireless networks?
I guess that'd be a question for the providers.
No, we are a fiber to the premise provider. So there's a direct fiber line into each structure. So that could be a resident, it could be a business, it could be a school. We also do education build outs for school districts as well.
So this is FCC compliant. We have to do this to stay with it. And then, so does that mean we'll be getting more cell towers in to take care of wireless customers?
That's a different side of the coin on that. Now that's a
The
different
competitor,
type of
I'm
business.
sure. Yeah.
So they'll use fiber to go from their tower to their gateway, if you will, to get it out into the rest of the world. But these guys are putting fiber along basically every foot of right of way in this community. Like I said, 3.1 million feet. If it's
Like
they do every
telephone
mile.
lines we used to have, but now you have multiple
Yeah.
options. Mr. Pepcorn?
So this is a great asset to our community. It's way faster, and so it'll be a benefit. And it's purely it's for consumers. If you want to buy it, you can. Can I ask Kevin, he said something and it kind of surprised you. Can I ask you what you seemed pleased about something that he offered, and so
Well,
I always like that.
I missed the part about that they dropped the prorated part. When I read that, I missed that. So that's a good news. That makes it easier to have them both lined up now. So that makes it a little easier on our side. So yeah, I missed that when I reviewed the last draft.
Just one more thing, Mr. Chair, in the interest of full disclosure, John Meyer is my neighbor at the lake, and I've known him before he was alive. And so just a good friend of friends of our family. And so the other good thing is when it's somebody that you know, if we have any issues, then I know how to contact him. And so that's another good thing.
He's got my number.
So just from the very start, I see a reference to open source fiber on the ubiquity information. And then on the gateway, it's just talking about installation of fiber throughout the city to provide internet services to every parcel, similar to like is open source? Are they different? Are these different beasts?
Sonny could probably talk to it better, but my understanding is if you wanted a fiber from your house to your business, they would give you an exclusive fiber and you'd have it all on your own, completely secure, and you could do that. And if I'm misspeaking, Sonny, please tell me that's the
Oh, it's very, very close. I mean, the great analogy would be that usually the traditional communication companies, they build a road, and the only people that are allowed to use that road are the people that belong to that company. We build a road that allows many users to use it. So we will connect that point to point, and then the service provider is sort of would be the person transporting that data back and forth to the end user. But open source is essentially allowing multiple users to use that infrastructure, as opposed to us retaining it for exclusive use to provide those services.
And my last question probably is, how many entities do this out there? There's Ubiquity and Gateway with us tonight.
You know, they mentioned a couple. You got Google, you got Verizon.
That's what I thought. Google's doing this. So why wouldn't we just put it out there that we're asking for proposals and RFPs and give everybody an equal turf chance opportunity to compete?
We could, but our right of way is very congested. So the later you are in the queue, the harder it's going to be to get through. These guys might have to get private easements to get through some of the areas because there's no room in the right of way in the older areas of town. So the more we invite, the more we have to make room for. And now it's just causes more congestion and more stuff for us to work around. So,
and it's going to be either one. It's not going to be both, right? It's one or the other. And
they're both. I think they're both willing to come. So, yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, just when you talk about RFP, it is open. Anybody can come here and do this right now, and these two have. That's that you don't have to put on an RFP. It is available, and so can I just throw out one request, if you don't mind? I would love to have free Wi-Fi at the Fargo Dome for my own selfish reasons, and I would love to have free Wi-Fi all the way down Broadway from Main Avenue to 7th. Just to have free Wi-Fi.
We heard that offer, Dave.
We do have free Wi-Fi down Broadway. Midco did this years ago.
John, I'm telling for them.
Oh,
this is new.
It already exists, though.
I'm just saying
Might
if
be
there's
faster.
Yeah,
I think we need to go on. We have an agenda to get that through. I think if there's representatives stay around after the meeting, if people want to discuss with you, they can. But I think, Kevin, I'd like to move on if we could.
That's
Is that okay, John? Do you have any other questions?
Well, what's our plan going forward? Who vets this? Who handles it?
They just gave you the information. It comes back to us to approve in 2 weeks. So I said, Kevin, you're available for questions and go through at any commissioners.
I guess my thinking is we have a lot of geeks in our community. Let's engage them. Find out what they need for technology. And
Yeah. Okay. Tom Knockmus can do construction update.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Well, good evening again. Here to kick off the season of monthly construction updates. We do unfortunately have one safety incident to report. There was an employee on the 45th Street project that did injure their hand while operating the tool on site. They did have to receive medical attention, but they have since been able to return to work. One thing I try to communicate every time is there's a lot of locations where people can find additional information. I do want to highlight fargostreets.com this week. We have worked with our comms team and rolled out a new look to that. And so there's some new mapping tools that are available to residents to see all the projects that we have going on. It's interactive. You can click on them, find more information about that. And then newer project pages with updated content as well. So to highlight just some of the ongoing rehab and recon projects, first of all, highlight 45th Street. If you've been down there between the interstate and 32nd Avenue, you know that is fairly impacted right now with the phase 1 work, which is reducing northbound traffic to 1 lane between I-94 and 32nd. We will eventually, the contractor will eventually be moving into phase 2 and then ultimately phase 3 later on this year. Just an image of the work they're doing. So this is a concrete pavement repair project. Right around year 20 to 25, we want to be in doing this type of work on our concrete roadways, and this just extends the life of that pavement. So we're taking out and addressing issues before they get worse and create additional issues.
How do you discover they're wrong? I mean, you have just panels that you've taken out. How do you discover that they're deficit?
We have employees that are literally walking every panel of the roadway, looking at the condition.
There are some cities using AI for that now too, by the way.
Yep, so we also, I mean, part of it does come through our pavement condition reports. We have video that gets detected through that, but ultimately still the best way to do it is to go out there and physically look at the condition of the roadway. And then here's just an example of them filling in that area that was removed. Another project to highlight, this is a newer type of project that we're doing. So we're doing a sanitary sewer lining project, and we'll also be lining the sanitary sewer services. We've been using our data collection to try to get ahead of areas where we're seeing a high rate of sewer replacements. City of Fargo has a sewer replacement policy where we contribute to a cost of those repairs. We think this is going to be a better proactive way to get ahead of a lot of those costs, ultimately save residents time and money, but also the city. So currently they're working on the mainline sanitary sewers, and then they'll be coming back working on the lateral service lining. Just an image of them pulling in that liner, and then it gets cured either by UV cure or steam cure. We've talked about a number of our shared use paths that we're continuing to build out our shared use path networks. This one is along River Drive, just east of University. You can see that they're starting to work there along 40th Avenue. And then we have a number of citywide projects that are going on as well. Our citywide crack fill, mill and overlay, sidewalk replacement, and storm sewer repairs. In the new development, so this would be just north of Amazon, Dakota Commerce Center North Edition. Contractor has all the underground utilities complete, working on completing the sanitary sewer lift station. And they're also working on roadway paving. So 41st Street was paved earlier this spring. They've already completed one pave on 48th Avenue. That's an image of that. And then they'll be prepping and working on the other half of 48th Avenue. Interstate Business District, currently working on underground utilities and working on roadway prep on 44th Street. This is just west of the interstate, north of 40th Avenue North. This is a project, storm lift station number 27 on 32nd Avenue, just east of University. Contractor has poured the concrete floor. You can see all the sheeting and shoring that exists here to protect the workers and the work that's taking place. And you can see the reinforcement that they're starting to work on that. It's deceiving how large those pipes are. The one on the left is a 78-inch, and the one on the right is a 60-inch pipe.
Wow.
The Southwest Metro pond, you see I have a typo. I did correct this, might have grabbed the wrong presentation, but stripping topsoil is taking place, and then there's ultimately going to be 1.5 million cubic yards of excavation taking place on the site. Just an image of them working on some of that mass grading. Another project currently kind of wrapping up, starting to work on the interior components of lift station 1157 up by Trollwood. I want to bring to your attention a couple projects that are going to be upcoming. One is our citywide concrete spot repair. There's 16 various sites throughout the city, but one of them is Area 8, which is at the intersection of Broadway and 2nd Avenue. If you've walked through that intersection, you know the brick pavers in the pedestrian walkway are in very tough condition, and they are creating a roadway tripping hazard. So those are being replaced. Again, it was corrected, but it is wrong on the current page. That will be closing down a week from today, so on the 19th of May, and that'll have a 9-day duration. And the contractor does have to maintain pedestrian access around that, and so there's a pedestrian detour and temporary ramps that will be built in that location. Number of upcoming rehab and reconstruction projects. These are the 4 core neighborhood recon projects that we have for this year. None of them have kicked off yet, but they will be here soon. And then we have a number of other citywide projects that will be happening in the near future. We have some new development projects that will be upcoming. Some of these are still need to bid, but again, I'll be sharing more information on those as they come around. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions by commissioners? Very good update. Sounds like people are busy.
Yes.
Item 36, you have a recommendation for appointment to the Board of Appeals. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Kolpak?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Yes. Chief Dirksen wanted to stay around before he retired to give us his annual report, so we get to have his annual report tonight, and of course, he wouldn't give it unless it had good results, right?
Well, absolutely, Mayor. It's good to be here, Mayor and Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of you one last time as the fire chief here for the city of Fargo and report what happened in our department, in your department for 2024. Let's go with that. So we'll talk about the good things that happened, but we're going to pull back the curtains and we're going to talk about ways we can improve so that you're aware of that. And that's one of the things that we do. And that's one of the first things here is through our accreditation process. We are one of 124 fire departments within the country that are accredited and an ISO 1 community. We just went through our site visit for our 4th time with the Commission on Fire Accreditation International last week. We opened up the curtains, pulled back, we lifted up the rugs and looked for the dust, and we found a few areas the team found that we can improve. We'll be bringing that as a report to you later on when the report from the team is finalized. I'm happy to say that there is nothing major that we have to, where we can improve, but there's just little things that will enhance the service and enhance the protection of the employees within the city and just make it a better community, but we want to be transparent about that. So you'll hear that probably in a couple weeks, probably a couple months more likely before the report is finalized by the team. But they did have recommendations for us. The good thing was as we sat there and listened to them, we had already began work on about 7 of those items. I think there's 17 maybe recommendations for us to work on. And so we're well on the way to moving through and becoming a better department just because of that process. Again, we are still an ISO Class 1 community. We were an ISO Class 3 in 2011, and so we've made our way to the best insurance rating that we can get from ISO. Our strategic plan, again, these are goals that have been approved by you as the City Commission. Our first one is to safeguard the community through proactive prevention, preparedness, and public education programs. Second is ensure systems and processes are in place to minimize the impact of life and property from medicals, fires, disasters, and other emergencies. Our third one is recruit, develop, and retain the highest quality team members and implement a comprehensive training program that provides for continuous education and career preparation and opportunities to all personnel. One little note on there, since I've been here, I've made job offers and hired over 117 personnel. For our department over that time. So we have almost flipped the department over in that, and there's only 5 people that are in a position of supervisor within the fire department today that I haven't signed the letter to promote them. So we have a great group of folks moving forward. Our fourth goal is maintain an organization that effectively administers, plans, and manages the physical resources of the department. We'll talk about that. And then the department will work to be a dynamic and continual adjust to meet the changing fire problem through new technologies, laws, regulations, and changes occurring in the community. Our folks are the best. We have some of the greatest employees in the world, and they all established, a number of years ago, early on when I was here in Fargo, we did a survey and we developed the core values of the department. And this is what we came up with probably back in about 2013, 2014. Our core values that the department came up with, these aren't from me. These are what the department members at that time said were our core values. And the first one's professionalism. And that's that commitment to quality and providing pride in your work. Second, as Commissioner Kolpak read it earlier, responsibility is accountability, maturity, and ability to respond. The third is integrity, being moral and honest and intellectual honesty. Fourth is dependability, work of trust, constructive communication, team effort, and working together. And last but not least, certainly not least, empathy, the ability to understand others, fairness, straightforwardness, and sincerity. So now to get into the numbers, you can see this is a good thing. This is the good numbers, Mayor, that you were asking about. We've seen a decline in total incidents over the last 2 years from where we were at a high of in 2022 of 14,546. Last year we declined to 14,222. So we've seen a little dip there, which is good. That's better for our residents, for us to not show up at their house, their business, or on the street. Fire injuries and fatalities, again, last year was a good year as far as that goes. We continue to see a decline from that high in 2020 to where we were at last year with 1 fatality, 2 civilian injuries, and 5 firefighter service injuries. So our total dollar loss went up a little bit this year. It doubled almost, a little bit more than doubled from where we were at last year. Last year was a good year as far as fire service and stops to property and possession loss, but this last year, again, we rose up to about that 4 million, but we're still below the national average for a community our size and population. With that community our size, according to some of the latest numbers, we could expect to see somewhere between $5 and $7 million in property loss annually in the community that would be reflective of Fargo. So planning goal 1, like I stated earlier, on the prevention side, we completed 6,709 inspections in 2024. Our firefighters going out, whether it's our inspection bureau or the crews in the stations, going through that, they were assigned and we completed 8,918 inspections. That might have been some re-inspections from issues that we found, but this is one of those ways that we keep our community safe. We go in and businesses allow us to come in. We find those high instances of where there could be a risk to that business. We ask them to make a change, do some things differently, and we go back and we check on those things. So that keeps our community safe. Public education, we had 2,500 adult education contacts. These are kind of hard for us to gather as far as the inputs into things that we look at and into our data sets, because you might be talking to somebody and you don't know that somebody else is hearing the message that you're there. This is just an estimate that we have when we have contacts, whether it's through a street party, when we're at kids programs and we're talking with parents or other adults that may be there. Our occupants were alerted by fire alarms when we responded 76% of the time where we had an active fire. So that's a good thing in our community. People are taking note of the safety measures that they can put in, the smoke detectors and things that are there. People are utilizing them in their homes and in their residences. Again, you can see our goal is to try to keep things into the room of content to respond. We do a lot better when you have a sprinkler system that's operating and functioning properly. When there's no sprinkler system, we're still pretty good, but we can work to be better, and that's a function of trying to get there on time. But we'd like to be at that 90% all the time to contain it to that room of origin. We just know the statistics are what they are, and we're pretty happy with 78%, but we'd definitely like to see that get to 90%. So these are the number of incidents of fires within the community last year. Again, we saw a decrease in this. 139 of them were determined to be unintentional. 41 of them we couldn't determine what the cause was. 37 of them were failure of equipment or a heat source, and 22 fires were intentionally set last year for a total fires of 239 in 2024. So goal 2, again, making sure that we have systems in place and the processes in place. Again, thank you for the investment in the safety of our community. That was, we were happy to open Fire Station 8 last year. It started off on its first day, making a difference in southeast Fargo. And so we were happy to report that it was under budget. We're still finishing up a few little things in that, you know, you think you get the project closed out and then you find something. And then we have to get ready and make those repairs and call the contractors back in. We're also investing in Fire Station 5. We had the issue there with the building not being safe to operate out of. So basically, if you look at the picture in the lower right-hand corner, that whole lower portion of the building has been torn off and replaced. I was just in there today. It's all constructed back. A majority of the conduit and the wiring is all run. It's sheetrocked. It's taped. They should be completed with the final sanding later this week and hopefully starting painting either this weekend or early next week. We've been through a great partnership with the West Fargo Fire Department. We've been able to place that crew at their new fire headquarters building that opened just the year prior to Fire Station 8. It's been a great partnership between our two departments. We're learning from them, they're learning from us. Our crews are working together. If there's a fire close by or a call close by in West Fargo, our folks are responding. It's just, it's been really good, and we've seen a lot of good work out of this. So our response times, this is where I told you we're going to show you where we don't always do so good. Our goals is to respond to any medical incident from 6 minutes from the time they call 911. You can see our numbers, we're at 8 minutes and 50 seconds. And a lot of that is, you know, when we look at it and we analyze it and we dig down into it, there's different components to our total response time. The first one is the call taking time. So someone dials 911, they answered at the dispatch center, that takes a period of time. Then we have what's called the dispatch time. And that's the time when the dispatcher pushes the button to us receiving the call. And then we have the turnout time, which is when our guys are notified in the station and then they're on the truck and they're rolling out the door. And then finally we have the travel time. Well, depending on where the incident is, we can't really help with travel time other than drive as safely and effectively as we can, but distance is always going to be the problem there. The other issue is where we're going to work to do better, and we have been working to do better, is on that call handling time. And we're really hopeful that as when we open the new dispatch center, that some changes in process and the ability to move some things around that we're not able to do in the current center will make a change, and we'll be able to work on that call processing time and get that down so that we can get there in a quicker manner. But we are doing fairly well to our goal of 6 minutes and 20 seconds for fires. It's a little easier on the dispatch side. Someone says, my house is on fire. They can push the button and get us there. Medicals, we got to take a little more information, so we get the right resources moving. And then the last one is our ERF, and that's our effective response force. That's when do we get the time? We're measuring the time from the call to when we get our last unit on scene for us to be effective and respond to the fire. And when we get 17 people on scene, that's what we're really looking to hit there. And so we're doing that in 13 minutes. We can improve there. We got to keep looking at that. But again, it's a dependence on distance and who's busy at what times, where the trucks are coming from. So we'll continue to keep watching that, but and we'll continue to work to improve. Our specialty teams, they do a lot of great things. We had 151 hazmat calls. Now that doesn't mean that we've had industrial accidents all over town. Hazmat calls, a majority of our hazmat calls are really natural gas leaks within the city. This is the time of year when that happens. When Tom's crews and the contractors get busy in our community and the locates work, that's great. Sometimes they don't. And they hit a line, and then we're off on a hazmat call there for a natural gas leak. We had one this afternoon. So this is just the beginning of those things happening. We respond very quickly. Excel is a great partner on that. They respond very quickly and help us in those situations. Our technical rescues, we had 85. We had a number of, it seemed like, vehicles into buildings last year. I don't have that number, how many there were, but in just my anecdotal comment there, it just seemed like last year was a higher number of those, but a lot of those are water rescues, cars into buildings, structural issues with buildings, vehicle rescues and entrapments and things like that. Then again, here's our water rescue. We had 15 specific water rescues, and with all of our ponds around the city, we have that. That's a big risk for us that we have to maintain and train for. And early last year, we brought a company in and did training for the city, our Fargo firefighters, Moorhead firefighters, and West Fargo. We shared the costs, experienced the same training. All of our folks are learning to do the things the same way, and so we're just continuing to grow and build on those relationships. And then finally, with our recruitment, we welcomed 13 new firefighters, and we had 2 Metro Academies last year. You can see there's some big groups of folks. We're going to have a graduation here on Friday, and we'll have 9 new firefighters within the Metro. We'll complete the academy, and then today we started with interviews for the next academy. That will begin in August, and we're planning to hire, at this point, probably another 6, maybe 7, depending on what you do to fill my position, and go from there. With that, before I ask for questions, I do want to say again, it's been my sincere joy and honor to serve as the 10th fire chief in the city of Fargo since we become a career fire department in 1903. It's like I said in the video, my wife really looked at me and said, "What in the world? Fargo, really?" But Fargo changed us. I wouldn't be who I am if it hadn't been for the time I've spent here. My wife has become a rabid football fan. When we moved here, she didn't watch football at all. The Bison did something to her. I don't know what they did, but she watches more football than I do. So but it's been great. We've really, truly enjoyed our time here in Fargo. Mayor, you were here when I got hired. Commissioner Pepcorn, you were here when I got hired. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for your support. The tough questions, not letting me skirt by easy. I won't miss the late Saturday or early Sunday morning calls from the mayor. What about this? What's going on? So, but with that, I'd answer any questions.
Any question by any commissioner or comments? Commissioner Kolpak.
Yeah, I just want to thank you again, Chief, very much, and I want to acknowledge that this really good result from last year is the result of hard work of 141 team members on the department. So a sincere thank you to all the firefighters and the staff and the leadership for incredible work.
Commissioner Strand.
Thank you. I have 2 thoughts. One of them, as you're going forward in your own personal journey, Chief, what would be your biggest concern that you have resting in your mind that your successor will inherit?
Probably just the ever-changing climate that we're working in. And I don't mean climate. I mean, it's just the technology evolution that's happened from 1989 when I entered the fire service to today has changed. I mean, the vehicles that we're dealing with, the chemicals that are out there, the people that have changed, I was just talking with Jen just before the meeting, now here we're talking about measles again. And, things that just kind of keep coming back up. And just those things that are out there and always trying to make sure that we're on the cutting edge and always got our vision 5 steps ahead. I do have to say that when I sat in the chair, I was always a guy that sat in the station and criticized the chief for not making the decision. And we had, the chiefs that I worked with, and when I was in Sioux Falls, I was like, come on, why aren't you just making the decision? He and I would have those conversations. When I came here and I was confronted with one of my first big decisions in the first 6 weeks, I had to sit back and I had to think, okay, how is this going to affect us 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and try to be visionary. And then I had to call him and I had to apologize. Because I was like, now I understand why you weren't quick to make that decision when it seemed so easy to me. And so that's the one thing I would say is that you have to be contemplative and you have to look out and have that vision in your head of where you'd like to see the department go and where you'd like to see the city go. But also watch what the city's doing and try to match that and making sure that you have the resources and the people there to serve.
And my second thought is, when the community had their public safety sales tax vote, lots of discussions surfaced, and one of the comments that evolved then was, we take care of everybody. We take care of visitors to town. We take care of people passing through our city. We take care of people on our roadways. A lot of folks that we attend to aren't really our residents, tax-paying residents and so on. I'm just curious. And then we hear other topics where this is like a bone of contention, like we shouldn't be funding this because they're not our people, like the homeless thing sometimes. But how much of our work is outsiders? How much of what we do and your people do in your departments are visitors to our town?
There are a large number. That is something that we don't grab as a data point because it's hard because we don't ask that question specifically. I mean, we can anecdotally look at it and say, okay, this is a South Dakota license plate or a Minnesota license plate, but Minnesota's hard because Moorhead is kind of us, you know, so to give you a number there, I can't do that because we just don't gather that point.
But basically, we provide service to anybody and everybody.
Yeah, you know, and what I will tell you is we respond to the Fargo Dome, we respond to the hotels, we respond to car accidents on the street. Those are all people. And at the end of the day, I look at it as the last of our core values. It's empathy, and everybody deserves to be taken care of in their hour of need.
Last thing I'll say, and I'm done. When July 17th rolls around, we'll be thinking of your birthday.
I'll be thinking of mine too.
Chief, one of the things I do appreciate about you and a decision when you talk about making decisions is you always had empathy for any one of your crew or brothers that had issues, or you in the firefighters, you were always very careful about any of those decisions. And those are some of the decisions that not a lot of the public knows about, but you were always very cautious about trying to figure out the best way to manage different management issues. And you did an excellent job. So thank you for that. We'll all appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you again for allowing me to serve in this great community.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Next item, liaison commissioner assignment updates. Commissioner Pipcorn. Commissioner Turnberg. Commissioner Kolpak. You got to have a slide.
I have two slides, but
Okay.
we've talked about one of them, so I'll this first one on the fire department. I had the privilege of sitting in the kickoff meeting and the closeout meeting of the accreditation last week, both of those meetings. And so I just wanted to share, as part of that process, the four who were here and did the work with the team clearly were impressed with our community and the hospitality they saw and just the layout of this city and the work, in the end, the work of all of the fire department and their commitment to excellence. So congratulations. The chief has talked about this. They evaluated a number of processes and processes, and there we go. And the closeout, the final vote will be at the commission CFAI on August 5th, I believe, is the hearing. So congratulations there. And then the Fargo Youth Initiative, as I've shared before, is an advisory body to the city commission made up of high school students from around our community. They had their monthly meeting on May 4th and provided feedback to their Fargo School Board liaison about recent legislation, specifically the cell phone ban in schools, as well as potential models for how students can give feedback to school administrators. Fargo Cast Public Health thanks several youth initiative members for their support in the second annual Suicide Prevention Summit. And then the members also listened and asked questions regarding the latest homelessness issues presented at City Commission. Next meeting is Sunday, June 1st.
Thank you. Mr. Stratt?
Thank you. I have an update from Fargo Cast Public Health that's pertinent in today's news world. The Fargo Cast Public Health will be hosting an MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine clinic Thursday, May 15th from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. The clinic will be held at the Fargo Cast Public Health Building on 1240 25th Street South in Fargo. It's a walk-in clinic. Appointments are not necessary. The MMR vaccine will be available for individuals currently recommended to receive the vaccine. Individuals who plan to attend should bring their insurance information. For those who don't have insurance or may not have it, the MMR vaccine is covered under both the Vaccines for Children and Vaccines for Adults programs, meaning there's a minimal cost to receive the vaccine. Any individuals who have symptoms and I think we've just had a report of two in our county. Any individuals who've had symptoms consistent with the measles or who have had a known exposure should contact their healthcare provider for guidance and recommendations. For any additional information, go to Fargo Cast Public Health /measles. That's my report.
And I think, John, in your health department, what happened is we talk about vaccine rates, which is high in the Cass County, but as we go west across the state is much lower. So one would expect if measles is starting to start here, we'll see quite a bit of measles in the state?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Any other comments?
Hard to fathom we're going to see measles in our era.
Yeah. We have two speakers tonight. Brian Brickner is first. Brian Brickner. Olivia Fisher.
Hi, my name is Olivia. I'm a Fargo resident. I'm here to again address concerns over public safety regarding the use of lethal force by police. A few meetings ago, I spoke about how Fargo PD Sergeant Lucas Mock and Officer Princeton Harris killed 65-year-old veteran Peter Greco on his front steps during a mental health crisis call. I and others are outraged at this and previous uses of lethal force against our neighbors. Something needs to change. First off, as I've said before, the police should not be the first responders to any sort of mental health crisis. The police themselves have been saying for years that even they feel overrun with the amount of mental health calls coming through and the lack of resources that actually help. Peter Greco called 53 times between 2008 and 2024, often regarding mental health. This is extensive proof that the state failed this man. It is your duty to prevent tragedies like this from occurring again. Apparently, there's a police board that could have been working on that, but they are not organized and have yet to bring this up. The most sensible solution would be to just abolish the police, but because I know the city will choose to rely on police for community safety, you all should be showing a lot more concern about the use of force occurring, especially now that the cops are working with ICE, according to recent news. There are many rules in the police manual that are concerningly loose. Officers are trusted to use their own discretion for the usage of force in dangerous scenarios, but the situation with Peter did not necessitate a split-second decision. He had called several times that morning making threats and expressing suicidal ideation, and they chose not to respond. Based on Peter's call history, it should have been clear that he was mainly a threat to himself and that his end goal was likely suicide by cop. Sergeant Mock spoke in March about some of the special protective gear the police have access to. He noted that this gear is quote-unquote used in situations where officers may need to protect themselves or head into a violent situation. So we demand to know why they would not wear this gear when they finally did show up at Peter's house that day. They knew he would likely have a firearm, which wound up just being a BB gun, and instead of taking the steps to protect themselves and safely disarm Peter, they shot him 4 times. The Fargo Police Force does not have any protocol about suicide by cop cases from what I could find. After years of Peter calling and the annual training police have to go through, why was there not even a thought of implementing de-escalation techniques for suicide by cop situations? The police manual is filled with statements on how the department supposedly takes accountability for their actions. Fargo community members demand real accountability as a commitment to everyone's safety. We demand that Officers Mock and Harris lose their positions and that suicide by cop de-escalation training be implemented within the year. If you refuse to take action, we will continue to witness police violence increase at rapid speeds.
We have no other speakers. We have the meeting adjourned. Thank you.